It's time once again for our monthly unboxing and discussion of the June 2025 HorrorPack. The observant among you may have noticed that we're well into July, and I'm still talking about the June HorrorPack, but the tardiness is almost entirely not my fault, so I, for one, am claiming innocence, at least in this case. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, before the titles rolled, it is July of 2025, and I am about to open up this June horror pack, and so I feel like that requires a little bit of explanation. The horror pack itself was somewhat delayed this month. Apparently there was some sort of a distribution issue, and the horror pack people didn't get all of the Blu-rays quite in time to send them out as early as they normally do. No harm done, it came a little bit late. And then I was at Fan Expo Denver when this actually arrived, so I couldn't really take the time to sit down and film this video while I was busy doing all of those things. So, a little bit late, but I do have the pack now, and as is our way, I'm going to open it up and we will see what's inside. For those of you who may be new here, welcome to the channel. This is something we do every month. I always open these up. I put purchase links for all of the films, at least all of the ones I can find, down there in the What's It, in case you're interested in any of these and happen not to be a subscriber to HorrorPack, although I do recommend subscribing to HorrorPack. It's a wonderful service, and, well, every month they send us one of these delightful little packages with 4 horror movies, and very frequently they're ones that either I haven't seen, sometimes I'm not even familiar with them at all, so I'm discovering some new things. Sometimes I do know about them, and if I do, I can tell you some thoughts now. But even if I'm not familiar with them, I do also review the movies in separate videos after the fact, so make sure you subscribe, ring the bell, and stay tuned for that. But without further ado, it is time to open this up and see what we've received. And the first one to come out of the pack is Deep Blue Sea 2. I have seen this one. It's, of course, the sequel to Deep Blue Sea, which is a shark movie, which, it was a good shark movie. They always have to be compared to Jaws, don't they? Any shark movie has to be compared to Jaws, because that really set the bar for the subgenre, and Deep Blue Sea is up there. It is not at the same level as Jaws, but it's up there. I have seen this sequel, but I don't remember it as well, either for better or for worse, as the first one. I'll go ahead and read the description. I think we already know what this is about. Shark movie, but I will read the description anyway, and we'll see what we're in for. It says, 19 years ago, the Aquatica Project used genetically altered sharks in hopes of developing a cutting-edge cure for Alzheimer's disease. They came close to achieving their goal, but an unforeseen tragedy derailed the experiment. Now, pharmaceutical billionaire Carl Durant is determined to revive the research of the undersea laboratory. With former Navy SEAL Trent Slater and scientists Daniel and Leslie Kim already on board, Durant hopes to enlist shark conservationist Misty Calhoun onto the team. But Calhoun is shocked to learn that the company is using unpredictable and highly aggressive bull sharks, the most lethal predators in the sea, as its test subjects. Before long, the drug-enhanced sharks, led by Den Mother Bella, are growing smarter, quicker, and much, much deadlier. Brace yourself for unyielding suspense in this bloodthirsty return to the Deep Blue Sea. So there you go, genetically and or pharmaceutically enhanced killer sharks at a nautical laboratory. I think we know exactly what kind of a movie this is. I do somewhat remember liking this one, maybe not as much as the first one, but I don't think there's really anything bad to say about it, if memory serves. But as I mentioned a minute ago, memory doesn't really serve all that well. I don't remember many of the details of this one, so it's not one that I had in my library, even though I had already seen it, and I am looking forward to rewatching this one to see how it holds up after some years and to a repeat viewing. And that brings us to our second film, entitled Hunters. This one I don't know much about. The tagline here says, "Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide." The title sounds familiar, but I'm not sure if that's because I know something about this film. I haven't seen it, but I may have heard of it. Or it may just be that the title sounds like one of those titles that, even if I hadn't heard of this one specifically, the title is familiar sounding enough, I could be confusing it for something else. Let's read the description here as well and see if I can jog a memory loose, or if I haven't heard anything about this one, figure out what it's all about. It's in fairly light print here, so let me adjust my spectacles. It says, from writer-director Justin Lee comes a bracing post-apocalyptic action juggernaut starring etc., 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 bunch of people. And then the description itself says, several years after a virus has ravaged the world, soldier John T. Wrecker continues his task of protecting a group of refugees and the base to which he was assigned, in spite of scarce supplies and an ever-dwindling discovery of survivors. As he goes about his daily routine, the threat of something new and even more dangerous grows ever closer in the form of monstrous mutants. The arrival of another soldier from a different outpost gives John hope that they might be able to fight this horrific new threat together. But with time running out and the new mutations closing in, John is facing the annihilation of his mission and the lives that rely on him. It sounds good. It's the kind of thing that I enjoy. But it's not helping me to remember if I had heard much about this one or not, because it sounds like several films, some of which I know are something entirely different, and some of which maybe I saw a trailer for this one or something. It's an interesting premise. It's sort of the same thing as any zombie movie. You've got the survivors of this post-apocalyptic world. They've militarized, they've settled into encampments, and they're going on scouting missions or defending themselves, these kinds of things. And the monsters are out there. They're called mutants here. I'm not sure if they're actually zombies or if they are a different sort of mutant. Sometimes in a zombie movie they call them mutants or walkers or something like that instead of zombies. So it could be that, or it could be a different kind of a monster. Either way, interesting and explores similar themes and similar type of ground. I like the bleakness of this type of post-apocalyptic story, so I don't know much about it. I certainly haven't seen it, but it sounds intriguing. It sounds right up my alley. Looking forward to this one too. That brings us to our third, which is entitled Carnage Park. This is one I know I have not heard anything about. Nice cover art though. A lot of names attached to it that I am familiar with, even though I don't know the film itself. But let's read the description, as we have been for the others, and see what this one's all about. It says, okay, first of all, there are some quotes of praise, and then it says, a brutal masterpiece of tension and terror, according to Heather Wixson of Daily Dead. This pure pulp thrill ride jumps between past and present as it pieces together the puzzle of a shocking crime. It's 1978, and a bank robbery gone wrong forces two criminals to take a hostage, the young but resilient Vivian, as they go on the run. But things go from bad to off-the-rails berserk when Vivian and her captors wind up in the crosshairs of a deranged ex-military sniper who ensnares them in his deadly game of cat and mouse. Rising horror auteur Mickey Keating directs this gritty, grisly homage to the glory days of grindhouse cinema. So this one is something quite different. It doesn't sound like there's anything supernatural or any sort of science fiction type of thread or anything like that. This one seems like an entirely human sort of a horror thriller story where maybe it's not clear who the villains actually are, because we've got these bank robbers, obviously. These are not heroic characters. These are villainous characters. They're robbing a bank and they've taken a hostage. But then there's somebody else and threatening perhaps all of them, so I like the sort of ambiguity there. I do like a good versus evil story where it's much more black and white, but I also like this kind of thing where maybe there is some nuance to the morality of the characters. As I said, it is one that I'm not familiar with. It is the sort of thing I do like, so far we're 3 for 3 in terms of ones that I'm happy to have received, and I am also looking forward to sampling this one. And of course, as I said at the beginning, once I have had a chance to watch these and the last one, I will make that review video and report back to y'all, and you'll get a more proper review with all of my thoughts once I've watched them. But we do still have one more to get to. Before I get there, let me just remind you, check down in the What's It. You can find the purchase links for, as I said, at least as many of these as I can find purchase links for. That's a great way to get some movies for yourself. And, by the way, long live physical media. It's nice to get tangible things instead of just bits down a network connection. That's a rant for another day, though. But in addition to getting some wonderful physical media, or I guess you could get the streaming version, but physical media for yourself, that's also a great way to support my channel. But we do still have that last one, and I've advertised enough, so let's get right to this. This is the HorrorPack exclusive Blu-ray, exclusive number 109, and it's a film entitled Cruel Summer 3. The subtitle is Pray for Fall. I have, in fact, seen, I think, both of its predecessors in the Cruel Summer franchise. I know I've seen at least one of them. I think both of them. Sometimes I see so many movies, they run together a little bit. Once I look at a description or a cover, I'll remember for sure. They're slasher movies. Very classic 80s style, fun kind of slasher movies. The description on this one says, the survivors of the Performance of Blood massacre have finally moved on with their lives. But now retired Sergeant Jake Fasano, the main detective assigned to the original case, is obsessively convinced that Gunner has somehow faked his own death and is planning his next chapter of terror. When a series of unexplained murders befall members of his old friend's therapy group, Fasano springs back into action to put an end to the carnage once and for all. Featuring Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp and John Dugan from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, who incidentally, John Dugan I'm talking about, I had the wonderful experience of sitting on stage with some months back when we were all a little bit more drunk than we might care to admit, but that was fun as hell. He's quite the character and a wonderful actor, so that bodes well here because he always turns in a great performance. It sounds like a pretty stereotypical slasher movie. Probably not terribly original, as slasher movies tend to follow a fairly established formula. But that's okay. As much as I like something that really is original and groundbreaking, sometimes you just want something that follows the familiar tropes and treats you to a lot of fun, and I think that's what this one promises to be. I have seen its predecessor. I have not seen this one yet, but I am, as with all of these, very much looking forward to it. So that brings us to the end of another one of these unboxing videos with 4 new films for me. Well, one of them is not an entirely new film. I have seen this one. But 4 films that I didn't have copies of and 3 films that I have not seen. That's, as I've mentioned before, a pretty good track record for HorrorPack. They tend to send me good stuff that I genuinely enjoy, but which very frequently I haven't even heard of. But even if I've heard of it, a lot of times I haven't seen it. That's the case with most of these. And that's what I like about these wonderful subscription services. So, anyway, that brings us to the end of this video. I am exhausted. I mentioned the Fan Expo convention. It kept me very busy and very sleep deprived, and I'm still catching up from that. So I'm going to sign off, but I am looking forward to these. Hopefully y'all are too. And until next time, take care and stay scared.